Hello gamers, Pet here. Welcome to, I wanted to say a pretty short tutorial, but I think it will be a little bit long, maybe too long. I'm going to show you how I did some things with FlowCanvas, which is like a visual tool. I mean, you can program, you can make stuff visually with FlowCanvas in Unity, basically, right? And as you can see, there are some stuff that are happening here, and basically that's the idea. Now, before I begin, in case you do not want to see this video, which I think it will be a little bit longer, because I do want to speak on how I got some ideas on how, some of the struggles I had. You can check up the website GamerPET.com. I have a link directly with the article where I explain some stuff. Where I have screenshots with exactly what I did, just in case you need to reference something, later or whatever. Another thing is that I wrote the article about 2 times. This video is supposed to be made like 2 months ago, and this whole thing that you see here I made like 3 months ago. So I'm, in a way, it's not done, it's not complete like what, but it's more that I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to just make like a simple article and a simple video and just move over on doing some other things. But then I wrote the article. I used some cleaning website thing that basically deleted all my drafts. So I lost like 3 hours of me writing that article. So I had to write it again. And right now I'm a little bit like, I just want to be done with this shit and move on. So the quality of what I want to explain might be a little bit lower than what I could have done, so I don't know, bear with me. That's all that I'm asking, right? It's also 1:18 a.m. at night, so I can't really yell or speak, or hopefully everything is fine. I just don't want to record this again. Anyway, I have Unity 5.6.2 opened up. This is like a project where I'm making, when I'm trying to make stuff. I've imported FlowCanvas, which is this visual tool. It's similar with Unreal Blueprints. It's visual, but it's not like Playmaker. Playmaker is more like a state machine. When you are here, you are doing this. If you receive an event, you are going to this state where you are going to do these actions, and the actions themselves, they are already written. You just have to configure and you have to think logically. With FlowCanvas, you need to know programming. You need to know the approaches of Unity on how you do stuff, and then of course you kind of need to know FlowCanvas a bit, because some things are made easier with FlowCanvas. Like for example, I have this switch string here, basically. All right. So just because it's visual, it doesn't mean it's easy. But at the same time, you shouldn't be like scared of trying this. Because it's not really that hard if you put your mind to it. Now, I know some programming because I've done some stuff in the past, but I'm not a programmer, and I find programming with code, sometimes I kind of like enjoy to see code and stuff like that, but sometimes I find it like too cumbersome and too slow, and sometimes I'm a little bit like, I don't care about this. I'm not a programmer. I want a programmer to do this for me, because I'm kind of moving towards like a technical game designer, right? Like I have some tech, I can write some stuff, I can do some stuff, but there are some stuff when it comes to game programming that I don't care about. I would like someone else to make that thing for me. But as I've said, because I want to learn on how to do some stuff, I'm also trying to learn more about on how you make and how you manipulate game objects, and what are some of the logical parts of making some of those small mechanic games. That way, those will help me later when I'm designing something, right? Because I know some of the struggles, and sometimes I will know on how to think something better, because this thing might be too complicated and it's no point to do it, or maybe I know an easier way that I can just specify in the game design document, right? So with that in mind, what I've done is like a really small Plants vs. Zombies type of game. It's not even a game, because it doesn't have a win state, it doesn't have a fail state. It's just some things that I told myself to do them, and I decided to try to do them, and then I drew the line, and this is it. It can be greatly improved, but I don't want to do that anymore. And the reason why I'm making this video is because there are no other tutorials for FlowCanvas, and I want to show you what I've learned, because I like to help others. And at the same time, if there are other guys that know how to do some things better, please write in the comments below, or email me, or write in the comments on the website. So What we have here basically is this grass tile, which is those are just subtiles that I duplicated. You have these UI buttons. You have this UI with the new text, which will basically at runtime it will tell us how much money we have. When we click at the UI, we will be able to click on any of those tiles, and if we have the money, one of those two plants, depending on what we clicked, it will be built on that spot. Then I also have like a small function that every something like 3 seconds it's picking a random spawner and it's basically generating a zombie like this one, and the zombie is just walking towards the plant, and when the zombie reaches a plant it will start to DPS the plant, to damage the plant, and at the same time those two plants are also almost kind of done, I want to say. This is the sunflower plant, which every 10 seconds it will spawn a sun, and if you click the sun you will gain some money. And this is the firing plant, which if it detects a zombie on her lane, it will start firing a bullet, and the bullet will just, fly away, and when the bullet hits the zombie will receive damage, and when the zombie has no more hit points, the zombie will die. And basically that's about it. And it's not hard, but there were some challenges that I've encountered, and I will go basically over some of those areas. Now keep in mind, I do also recommend you to go on the website and read that article, because that article is a little bit more structured, while my mind right now it's going into a lot of places, and I need to change the song because it has lyrics and it's really distracting me. So hopefully this one is better. So anyway, let's hit play, and if I believe that if I click this, hopefully it will work. Yeah, it is. I disabled. I wanted to make the last thing that I wanted to do before I stop this was whenever I click one of those two buttons to show a sprite close to my cursor to indicate that I selected that plant, which I've stopped doing because I kind of didn't want to bother with it. As I said, it's really in my head and I just want to be done with it and do something else. So if I click play, I can build a plant which is animating into an idle state. Basically this is like a firing plant which starts to shoot, and as you can see the plant doesn't receive any damage, and as you those two suns have spawned. If I click, I gain money, and when a zombie will reach a plant it will start to DPS it like that, but it's not doing damage to the plant because I've stopped implementing that. But basically this is it. Okay, so let's see how I've done that. Now the first thing that I've done was to create those tiles, and those tiles are basically just, it's called grass, and I have a column, and I have those as you can see, those game objects, which I made a prefab because I want it to be easy to duplicate it and change the logic of the grass tile itself. Now the grass tile is also has a box collider 2D that it's made to be a trigger, because I want it to be a trigger when I do something to trigger it, and not to have a collision, so the zombie won't be able to walk on the grass, of course. And this is the logic that the grass tile has. Also, just to keep in mind, I'm showing you how to do some stuff and how to some of those game objects to send events to other game objects in order to do stuff. Like I have a game manager that basically handles like the most part, and as you can see it has a couple of functions. Let's call them functions, but basically those are events that get triggered, and those events can receive they can receive information like a string, like an integer, or a game object, and so on, right? But then I also have those other canvases, flow script controllers on other objects, and this is like a classic example, right? The grass, basically what we want to do is find what grass we clicked and send an event to the game manager with the grass that was clicked. And we want to do that because we want to know exactly what grass we click, so we know where to put the plant when we want to move to build the plant. Basically that's the idea, right? I mean, we have those two buttons. When we click a button, we have, and you will see it later, we have this, the plant itself gets into memory, basically in a value, in a variable. And when we finally click a plant, a grass tile, we will know which grass tile we clicked, so we can get the position of the grass and just build the grass there, the plant there, right? So we have this event called mouse 2D, which is an event that you get by going here at the events, and then you have, those are events that basically start a flow like this, right? Like, for example, you have on awake, on disable, on enable, on fixed update, on start, and so on, right? And then you also have those on mouse pick, on mouse, on keyboard. Basically, you can take, keyboards when the K on the keyboard or the H or whatever. Anyway, as you can see, you can find it during events, objects, and you have trigger 2D, mouse 2D, collision 2D, and so on, right? So when the mouse 2D is down, we start this flow. We will get to this switch condition, which is like an if, right? And we check to see if the child of self is equal to 0. If it's equal to 0, we will do this. If it's not equal to 0, it means that the grass itself, it has a child. And the reason why this matters is that this is like the simple solution I came up with the problem that we have a plant on a tile, but we click on a new plant and we want to build another plant on the same tile. When we build a plant on a tile, that plant will become the child of that grass. So this is when I'm checking to see if I have another plant on that grass tile. If we do nothing. If we don't have a plant on that tile, we send an event to the game object with the game object self, with itself. I mean, basically the grass tile is sending itself to the game manager, right? And the reason why this works is because we know in our game design, in our small game design, in our small concept, is that we know that we are not going to have other childs of the grass tile. If, however, we want to keep other information as a child on the grass tile, we might want to specify this if to be a little bit more complex, like get the child and see if we have like an actual plant there, something like that. Okay, so another thing that's important right now, as you can see, we are sending an event to this target, and the target is basically this game object, find game object with tag. The reason why we do this and we don't just, I mean, if I unclick this, we see we have a graphic like this, and we can just specify the game manager like this. This will work just fine. The problem is that our grass, it's a prefab, so basically it exists in the project like this, right? This is the grass, and you can't really have a prefab that has links to actual scene objects. Like the game manager itself, it's in the scene and it will always be in the scene. And you can't really link a prefab or the information in a prefab to something in the scene because it doesn't know exactly about it, right? So that's why what I'm doing here with the grass is that I'm looking for the object that has the tag game object game manager, which of course is our game manager, and it's the only one that has, right? And the event value that we sent is basically the game object self. We are sending ourselves basically, and the send event is the type game object because we want to send a game object. Okay, makes sense? I know it's a little bit like the text on the website. It's a little bit more concise in case you get confused or something. So as you saw there, we sent this event name called clicked grass to the game manager. Okay, so let's go to the game manager. That will receive a message, an event called clicked grass, and this is it. When we click on the grass tile will do its thing. It will send an event with herself, and then this will trigger. Basically, we have a variable of type game object called clicked grass, and basically what we want to do is Let me think how to explain this better. We are basically, yeah, okay. We are having another if here where we are checking to see if we have a plant selected. If we don't have a plant selected, as you can see here, we will do nothing because it means that we do not want to build anything. So the fact that we clicked on a grass doesn't mean anything. That's the main idea. But if we have a plant selected, we will do this. We will send an event to self, to the game manager, with the event name check current money. Basically, we want to check if we have money to build the plant that we selected, right? Okay, so let me go a little bit to the other easier stuff to understand, because it's not complicated, but it's like a logic flow that I have where I have a couple of checkups. Like, you selected a plant, that plant gets into the memory, then I click on a grass tile. That grass tile, it's sending itself to the game manager. The game manager checks to see if we have a plant selected, then we check the money. If we have the money, then we build a plant, and so on. It's pretty simple. Which, check current money, it's basically right here where we, as you can see, if we have money, we will just send an event that's called spawn plant, which is something. Anyway, let me go to show you the buttons. Basically, these are the two buttons, and they also have logic, basically, like a canvas, and it's basically just this UI button, sunflower button. When it's clicked, it will send to the game manager the event name selected plant and the event value of its sunflower, which is of type string. And let me actually see this. If you click play, just watch here. See, it says nothing. If we click on the plant, this selected plant is called sunflower, and then selected plant GO, it comes from game object, it's sunflower. Okay, if we click on the fire plant, it's firing plant. If we right click, we cancel everything, which is another function that I've done and I will show you now. And if you click on the grass, as you can see, the grass is getting updated there. And if I click that grass itself, you can see that it's this one, as you can see. Okay, makes sense? It's not that hard. Okay, so let's go back to the top of the whole thing. Like right now, I only showed you how to send events between other game objects. So we selected a plant, so this event will be received, right? We set the plant to be of this value that we just received, and we also have a switch string. A switch string is just a thing that FlowCanvas have. Normally, I was doing differently, but Nuverian, the guy that made FlowCanvas, suggested to use switch string, and it's actually kind of great. So, what happens with the switch string? Basically, depending on the value that we receive, we will do something else. So, if we clicked on the sunflower, we will do those two things. If we clicked on the firing plant, we will do those two things, right? Those two from below. And what we do here is selected plant go game object becomes this, and this is the actual prefab from the scene. You see those, I just clicked and drag and dropped those into the canvas itself. Let me actually, okay, you can see it. If I go here, if I drag and drop the sunflower here, it becomes this. It's a reference to the prefab itself. So basically, this is what I did. I told them to make this variable to be this prefab value. And we have this in memory, and later when we want to instantiate, which means to finally build the plant, we know exactly what to build, okay? Now, I also told you that I have this cancel function, basically. Like I have the plant selected, as you can see, but I don't want to have it selected, and if I right click, it gets erased there, okay? Keep in mind that I also wanted to have that thing, that sprite that follows the cursor around, that will show you like a faded sprite with the plant that you want to build, basically. That also supposed to be cleared right here. It also turns out that I'm calling this function later. After you build the plant, I will also call this function. So the function name right click, it's not ideal. You will want to call it something like, I don't know, cancel selection or something like that. But I know it doesn't matter right now. So again, it's a right click which checks to see if the selected plant is equal. It's not equal to null, meaning that we have a plant selected. Because if we don't have a plant selected, doing a right click will do nothing because there is no point. But then if you have a plant selected, it will just take the selected plant value and it will set it to null. It will take the selected plant and it will set it to null, and it will also set the new plant to null, which is a variable that I will use later and you will see about it. So this is about it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the plants, and then we will check those other functions. So if you go to the project and if you go to the sunflower is the first plant that I did. We also have an animator that has an animation of sunflower idle. So the plant goes like this. But this is not really that important right now because the firing plant is actually a little bit more complex. So I will show you that later. So let's go to the sunflower. And the sunflower basically has two purposes. I mean, it only has one, to produce sun, but it has like two game objects, the plant and the sun itself, and both actually have this canvas. And the plant itself also has three variables, one called health, so we know how much health the plant has. So when the zombie DPS damages the plant, we know when the plant will be destroyed. The plant price and the spawn sun timer, which is how often the plant will spawn a sun, basically. And this is the logic of the plant. On fixed update, we have this function of wait, like wait, and the wait node has more things that you can do. It has the start, the start gets called at the start of the node. Update gets called during the update, meaning every time, and finish only gets called at the end. So basically, we have this time, which is the sun spawn timer. In our case, it's 10 seconds. Keep that in mind, right? So if we use start, the start will be called at second 0, right at the beginning. The update will be called every time between between the beginning and the end, meaning that the update will be called between 0 and 10 in our case, and we don't want that, of course. But what we want is to call it at the end of the 10 seconds. We want to call to spawn a sun, basically. And what we do is we have Unity object instantiate, which is a node that will instantiate a new object, and we have the sun, which is, again, it's a prefab that I built and I drag and dropped it here, and we want to have a position. And what we do, where do you want the sun to be spawned? We want the sun to be spawned right on the plant. So that's why we get the position of the plant itself. So that's why when let me actually show you. I'm building a plant which I can't really. Let me try to select it, and you see the update, it's happening 5 seconds, and you see the sun got spawned and it's going up, and you can see the position where the sun got spawned, and another spawn. If I click, it disappears. Okay, so pretty easy, I would say. It's not really that hard. That's all that the plant is doing. I mean, the plant's supposed to be doing other stuff like know when to receive damage and so on, but the plant doesn't know to receive damage, and the health value is actually meaningless right now. And oops. Now let's look at the sun itself. The sun is also a sprite that has a collider set up to trigger. Same thing as the plant. And this is the sun. It's a little bit more complicated. It has a fixed update. So whenever the sun gets created into the universe, right, this fixed update will be called at the fixed update, and it will add force to itself at 0.3 on the y-axis, right, on the vertical, on this side. Later I stopped using add force because, as you saw, the sun starts slowly and then it moves up. I stopped doing that and I started to move objects by using translate, but I let the sun with add force just so I can show you different things. Then we also have this function called destroy sun after X seconds if not clicked. Basically, the suns will keep getting spawned, and if you don't click them, they will just move up off the screen, but they will still exist in the memory and they will still exist in the hierarchy. So I done something like after 8 seconds, I will just Unity object destroy who self. It's destroying itself because this whole canvas it's on the sun itself. So self means the sun. Okay, now this is not ideal. It's not ideal at all. Normally what you would want is maybe have some colliders on top and do a checkup if I or maybe the collider itself will have a check to see if something it's hitting that collider to just destroy that whatever it is, so we wouldn't have to do this like this. It is not really ideal because, I mean, this value of 8 seconds, it's hard coded. I calculated that the sun, it will start from the lowest and it'll be like 1, 2, 3, something like that, and it's not ideal because maybe you will have various other encounters in your game where the sun might be on the screen for whatever reason. It will be on the screen for longer because you want it to be on the screen for longer time, but then he will just destroy itself. So this is not ideal. But anyway, what we have is another action called mouse to D. Basically, when you mouse to D click, when you click the sun, it will send an event to the game manager. With the event is called sun clicked, and after you send the event, the event is of type integer, and it will send the value of get money. So basically, it will send the value of 20 to the game manager, and after that, we just Unity object destroy self, and the sun will be destroyed after that. So let's look at the game manager and look at what the sun clicked is doing. Sun clicked. This is what the sun click event is doing. It's setting the current money to the value of current money, right? The money that we have, plus the money that we just receive. And that's it. We are basically getting money to our value called current money. That's it. Okay, so let's look right now at check if the player has money to build plant. I mean, we saw that we are calling this event during the grass got clicked. So we also saw that, we check to see if we have a plant selected and so on. So we have a plant selected. We are clicking on a grass tile. And I want to see if, the idea is to build a plant on that grass tile, but we need to see if we have money to do that. So what we do here is we have a switch condition, and the condition itself is we check the current money and we see if we have more or equal to. We get, it's a little bit more, it's not complicated, but it took me a little bit to see how to do it. But when I finally saw how to do it, we said it's pretty easy. Basically, the plant that we want to build, which is the selected plant game object, the plant itself, if you remember correctly, let's look at the sunflower, it has some variables. Plant price 50. Okay, how do we access those values from another blackboard, from another game object, into this game manager, this game object with this canvas, right? How do we access other information? And it's kind of simple in a way. I mean, we do have the selected plant. We basically, this is the key node, the get variable, and the way you do it, you just drag and drop. It doesn't matter where you drag and drop. If you drag and drop the plant itself, or if you drag and drop from other places. Let's drag and drop the blackboard script. Let me see if I still remember how to do it. We get those stuff. Then we have methods, and then we have the get variable. And you also have other things that you can do, other methods to do with the blackboard of that whatever game object, right? And we do get variable. And now we have this get variable, which is kind of the same, but the game, the get variable, it's set up right now to self, meaning that we are getting the variable of the game manager, which we don't want that, which is why we supply this with, right? We know that the plant itself will be here and it will have, this is why we, I mean, I think I'm trying to over explain it when it's kind of obvious, right? But the plan that we have, we know that it has the value, this blackboard, and that's why we have here. And as you can see here, we have the plant price, which is exactly the variable of that we want to get, and it's of type int. As you can see, there are other types that we want to get, and that's about it. That will output a value, and we will get that value, which will be fed into this checker, and that's how we compare, and that's how we get the. Let me actually make those a little bit more like this, so we can debug it. So if you click play, and if we click to build a plant, you see that value 50, it's there. We managed to pull it up, and it equal to true. So this equal to true basically means that we have the money. So we send an event to self called spawn plant. If we don't have money right now, we only log in the console the fact you don't have money. But normally you would want to maybe show a message or make a sound, or actually what you would want to do if you don't have money, not allow the person to click the buttons themselves. That's like the easiest thing to do. Okay, so let's look at the spawn plant, which is right here. It's also really not that complicated, even that it might look like, but we have, okay, we know that we clicked on the plant, we know that we have money to build a plant, we know exactly on what grass style we want to build the plant, and we also know that there is no other plant on that grass style. So the next step is to use Unity object instantiate, where we instantiate the selected plant game object. Keep in mind, that's why we have it over here. Then we need the position. Where do we want to build a plant? And we want to build a plant on the click grass, where we get the position, and that's how we know the position where we want to build it. But the problem is that the plant will be just placed at, in the root of the hierarchy. It will be placed here, and we know for a fact that we want to build the plant as a child of the grass that we just clicked. And again, we want to do that because we want to have a way to check if we have a plant built on the grass style. So this is why we have this value, this variable called new plant, because we can't specify the selected plant, because the selected plant itself, it's it's a value from the prefab, and we do not want to move the prefab as a child to the grass. We want to move the new plant as a child to the grass. We just got created. It's there in the hierarchy, right? So that's why we set this new object that we instantiated into the variable called new plant. Then we set the parent. The transform is the new plant basically, and the parent is clicked grass, and that's it. That's it. It will just move the new plant from the hierarchy to the grass, as a child here. So let's actually build a plant on top here. Build it, and if you go to grass, you see the sunflower is a child. If I wouldn't have done that, the sunflower will be just be sitting here, like this sun. It will just be in the root. Root beer. Anyway, then after that, okay, we build the plant. It's in the current position. We want to get our current money, and then get the money of the plant on how much the cost of the plant was, and then subtract those money, right? And then that means that the plant was $50. We have $100. Or new, I mean it's not dollars, it's just a number. Our new value will be 50, and that's it. And after that we do a send event called right click, which you already saw. It will just cancel the selection of the plant, and that's basically it. This is like the whole thing that it was so complicated. It's not done. We are not done. There are still some other things. Let me actually talk a little bit about the new text. The UI. As you can see, it says new text, but right now it gets populated to 250, which is the value that we have the current money. And this is we are doing this here on enable. We send an event called update money, and the event value is called current money. Then we also have this. This is the update money, which basically will do it will set the text current money, which is that text from the UI, money text current money. This one, it will set it to the value that it just received. But then I also did something a little bit interesting. I used, there was a way, like, after we've done this, the next step was to update the money, right? I mean, we calculated the new value for the current money, and then we're supposed to set the UI and so on here, kind of ish, right? But it was kind of like, what's the point? I mean, if we have multiple ways, in multiple spots where we need to update the UI, it will be a little bit more annoying because we'll have to do that every time. So when I talked with Nuvarian on the forums, he created this node called on variable change. So whenever on variable change, whenever the current money value variable, it's getting changed for whatever reason from whatever place, when that variable is getting changed, this thing will get called, and it will just be send event update money with the current money, and that's it. We don't have to do anything else, and that's kind of interesting. Okay, so now we talked about the actual building of stuff, and there are two other things that we need to talk about: the zombie and the firing plant. So let's talk a little bit about the firing plant. The firing plant is a little bit more complex. Why? Because it has two states. It has the idle state, and it has the firing state. And I'm a little bit happy because I've done this by myself. I've used my brain, and sometimes it works. I'm actually out of practice with talking on the microphone, and my neck hurts a little bit. So, in case you haven't used the Animator too much, the Animator is the state machine, and you have various states, and in those states you specify an animation, and there are other settings, of course, and then there is some logic behind those state machines. So when we start, we go immediately to the firing plant idle, which is playing the firing plant idle animation, which is just the plant going like this, right? And that's it. But then we need a way to go to this other animation called firing plant fire. Okay, so we have a parameter called isFiring. It's of type ball. We go here, float ball, and you also have other, trigger int float ball. Our type is ball because it's only true or false. So if this parameter goes to true, it will trigger this arrow, and it will go here. And you will be in this state where you will fire. If it goes from true to false, you will use this arrow, and you will go back here. And this is the properties of the arrow. This is the condition for this to happen. isFiring equals true. That's it. If you go here, isFiring equals false. Easy. There are other settings that I haven't touched, but basically this is it. I didn't care about to set up the animation. As you saw, when the firing plant is firing, it's a little bit, you see, it's firing, but it didn't update it yet. And now it's firing. It is the firing animation. And now when the zombie dies, it died, but then it had some delay. I haven't tinkered with animations. So anyway, let's go and look at the firing plant, which also has a bullet. Again, the firing plant, it's of it has a box collider and it has a trigger. It also has those variables that we will talk a little bit in the second. As you can see, it's a little bit more complex, and I had some problems with this, and I will tell you my problems with it, and hopefully you will learn from my mistakes. Again, it has a health, it has a plant price, it has a fire rate, meaning how fast it will fire, and right now it's every second. We have a ball, a value of boolean called is firing, which is different than the parameter from here. This is a parameter, this is a variable, different things. And the zombie layer mask called zombies. Okay, so let me try to explain this. It's not really complicated, but I had some problems over here, and I know that it's like spaghetti over here. Like, what you want to do basically, the main idea with this plant is that the plant will be on a row, and when it will detect something coming into its row, it will start firing. And because we don't have like a proper logic, like a logic of rows and columns, and something like a zombie comes on the row number 3, and we know that it's number 3, it's occupied with a zombie, and we fire. It's more like using a line cast, basically. It's everything is in world and not in a logic, like a grid space type. What we want to do is have the plant itself, and let me see to show you. We build the plant here, and the plant has this red line, as you can see. That's the line cast or array cast. In our case, it's a line cast because it's 2D and blah blah blah. And you see a zombie walked into that line, and the plant started to fire. That's what we want to accomplish. Now we do that with this line cast, which has the properties: a start where the line should start, an end where the line should end, and it's also using the layer mask. And the reason why I had lots of problems with the layer mask, I kind of forgot exactly all the stuff I wanted to talk about this because it was like 2 months ago, but I've learned this. We basically wanted to, how to put it, the bullet itself, it has a collider, a trigger collider. The ground, the grass tiles, they have a collider. The other plants have a collider. Even the zombie has a collider, right? If we put the plant here and we have a die cast and we don't use this layer mask, the line cast will simply hit the grass itself and be like, okay, it's a grass, fire, 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 fire. But then you can do stuff like get a tag like we are doing here and check if the tag is zombie. But I don't remember exactly what happened. But there was a lot of problem with, even if it was a zombie, it wasn't detecting it. But sometimes it was always detecting it to true, and it was firing or it wasn't firing. And anyway, I wish I would have done this particular thing sooner, because there were a lot of things that happened. And my mind was like, what the fuck, what's happening? Oh my god, it's actually hitting the grass. And then later found out that the the line kiss was coming from inside the plant, right? And the plant itself, it has a collider, and the right kiss was coming from inside, right? The collider. So it was always like hitting true, but it wasn't true, it was false because it was 0 and it wasn't happening, so nothing was happening. And this was on top on the fact that you don't really see the red line. The red line is being drawn by this debug draw line. So basically, now I will actually start to explain what's going on here. On fixed update, when you build the plant, we have a debug draw line that also has a start and an end and a color and a duration. We will use the same start and the same end as on the physics, because this is why you see a lot of spaghetti here, is because some of those numbers from here are going into the bug and some of the numbers are going here. So let me explain. We have self, we extract the vector tree of self. Oops. I accidentally double clicked on one of the nodes and everything I'm burning out right now. Whoa, whoops, what the hell? Damn Skype. Okay, so we go now I'm all confused. Damn Mondo developer. We have self, we have extract vector 3, right? Where we get the x and the y, and we add to the x, we get 0.5. And we do that so the ray case will not start from the middle of the plant, it will start 0.5 units in front of the plant. So that was one of the ideas. And we also have an and that we do here at, we get the current x, and to our current x we add 10.5, and that will be basically the end of the line, the end of the line. And with all those variables, the values, we need to feed them into these physics lines 2D, right? The line cast physics 2D. The problem is that since it's 2D, it's expecting a vector 2, an x and an I, and that's why we create we get those values directly here. But the thing is that the debug line, it requires a vector 3. That's why we create a new vector 3, which we are feeding into the bug drew line. And that's it. It's not really that complicated. So one of the reasons why this didn't work, and I was like, why the hell is not working? Why the hell is not working? I even set up the color. The problem was that the alpha of the color was set up to 0. So the line was working, but it was invisible. You can imagine, like, I mean, I had like multiple layers that I was trying to debug, and I wasn't really sure exactly why it wasn't happening. So this was like a huge problem, like a huge and annoying problem. And when I've done that, it worked. And so the physics lines know when to start. We know when it's going to end. We also know to see it because of the debug draw line. There we are going to get the get transform ray has hit 2D, what we hit. And because we are using a layer mask, which is, this is how I've done it. I created a special layer, and if you go to tags and layers, see zombies, I created a new variable, and that's how I actually looked by myself, and I saw that, oh my god, I can create a variable of a type layer mask. And then my answers were completed, and I was like so happy, because I knew that I would get that layer mask, and I would get the value of the layer mask, and that value I was feeding into the layer mask itself, and it was like, so beautiful, right? So that's why we are checking for collision only with stuff that are on the layer mask called zombies. And of course, as you guessed it, the zombies are on the layers of zombies, right? We also get a tag to see if the tag of the zombie is zombie. We have this switch condition that when it's false, we will set the is firing to false because we are not firing. But when it's true, we are going to check to see if we are colliding with zombies, and if we are, we set the is firing to true. Then we also have this thing that this is also running on fixed update, meaning that it's always running. But this thing is at switch condition, and the condition is firing, which is, if it's false, it will always do this false thing. If it's true, it will do the true thing. And this is basically what it will do. If it's false, it will just go to set the ball, and I will explain to it in a moment, and it will just break the weight, right? It will just break it, and it will stop. But if it's true and we are firing, we set the ball of the animator of self to is firing value true. And if you go to the animator, not of the zombie, but of the plant, firing plant, this is the animator that we are targeting, it will just set this to true. This is what it will do. Meaning that the animator will know that it's firing, so it will start the animation of firing. But then we also need to do the logic, which is we are also going to use the wait, which is going to use the fire rate. So every 1 second right now, we will do this. So right now, as you can see, we are not doing this at finish. We are doing it at start because we want the plant to start immediately at the beginning, right? And it will use Unity object instantiate, and it will spawn a bullet. Again, we just took the bullet and we drag and drop it into the canvas, but then we need a position. Where are we going to spawn the bullet? So we will get the position of self of the firing plant. We will extract the vector tree, and we will add 0.7 and 0.15, and we will create a new vector tree which we are going to feed into the instantiate. And the reason why we do that is that we want the bullet to be spawned here. You see, it's not in the middle, it's a little bit on top, which is this reason, and we want it to be a little bit in front. We don't want it to be in the middle of the plant. We want it to be at the mouth. So this is what it's doing. It's basically spawning the bullet at the mouth of the plant. Okay, now let's look at the bullet itself. This is the bullet. It also has a circle collider with type of trigger. It has two variables, speed and damage, how much the damage the bullet will deal, and how fast the bullet will be. And another thing that we need to do here is the bullet will go, and the bullet will collide with other stuff, other bullets, other plants, and so on. Also, one of the reasons why the bullet is set up to trigger, because we don't want the bullet to just roll around. So what we are doing here is we are using a switch string, and we are checking to see the tag of the object that we hit, and the bullet will hit the grass, the other plants, and it will check immediately the tags. And when it finally detects an object with the tag zombie, it will send an event called receive damage with the event value of damage, and then the bullet will destroy itself. And it will send an event to the thing that it just hit, in our case the zombie. And I believe, yeah, the bullet also has this, in order for the bullet to move, it also has this fixed update that is going to translate, it will get a transform of self, and it will basically use the translation of delta time vector 3, where we, it's 1 on the x-axis, because we want it to move from left to right. That's why it's 1, not -1 or whatever. But we use the speed as a multiplier. So basically right now the speed, we also use the same thing on the zombie, so it will make more sense right now. But the speed is 3, meaning that the speed will be 1x3, so 3. And if we change the speed to 0.1, it will be like super slow. Like, check this out. Yeah, and the bullets are already being destroyed, because the bullets themselves, they also have this automatically destroy bullet after 4 seconds, which again, it's not an ideal solution to this problem, because you might have different bullet speeds and so on, and you don't want the bullets to destroy themselves. You want to destroy the bullets when they reach invisible collider around the map that only affects bullets or something like that, basically. And the cat is here, and the cat wants attention every time I'm doing videos. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about this receive damage event that we send to zombies. So if you go to the zombies also have 2 states. Is attacking, and he's starting from walking, and then he will go to the zombie attacking, again with the condition is attacking is true. Same thing as the firing plant. Move, cat, from here, move. She wants attention. Okay, so Prefabs Zombies, again, box collider, set up to trigger. Let's see this. We also have like those variables called health, speed, the speed of the zombie, on how slowly the guy walks, or how fast the guy walks. Hit object, which is the object, you will see it later. When the zombie will reach a plant, he will need to know what plant he reached in order to deal the damage. I kind of haven't finished that part, I think. There is attacking, which is a ball, and the DPS, which is called wrong. It's supposed to be called damage, because DPS means damage per second. It means that we have 2 values there, damage and seconds. So DPS is the sum of damage and seconds. So it's supposed to be just called damage. Okay, so this is the zombie. there are some stuff here, incomplete stuff. So we have a fixed update that is checking to see if the zombie is attacking. If the zombie is attacking, it will be true, and it will not do this, and this is basically moving. So if the zombie is not attacking, it will translate delta time force vector 3, and the speed will be this. And as you can see, the zombie is moving on -1, so he's going from right to left. And it's going to from self, like he's going to get its position and it's going to move left to its position every fixed update. That's it. And again, if its attacking is true, we don't want the zombie to move, so it's going to stop it. That's it. We have this I said that I was going to talk about the received damage, because the bullet is going to send an event called receive damage. So what we have here is we get the health, where we do this. We do subtraction, right? We get the current health, which is this. We do a subtraction with the event that we just received, and we set the new health. So if my health is 10, then it will be 9, 8, 9, 8, 7, and so on. Here we do a check, switch condition, where we check to see if health is below or equal to 0. If it is below or equal to 0, we will just destroy self, meaning that we will destroy the zombie, meaning that the zombie is dead, right? Okay, so let's look at this thing. We have trigger 2D. So when the self is going to trigger, it will do a compare tag to see if it hit a plant, and if it hit a plant, it means that it's true. The hit object, the variable hit object, it will become populated with the object that we just hit, and then we will send an event start attacking to self. The start attacking event, basically, it's setting the variable, the value is attacking the ball to true, meaning that the zombie will stop moving. And it will also set the bool of the animator to true, and it will send an event deal damage, which we kind of stopped doing, and this is where I stopped doing things. Well, basically, whenever the zombie is reaching, let's go to this zombie and we click the edit, and if we put a plant here, as you can see right now, he's here, and right now he's basically attacking because it's true. It's attacking, it's dealing damage, and this happens, but nothing is doing it, and that's about it, right? Look at the zombies hitting. Funny. The main idea was to deal damage, something again like wait, and it will like send an event to the plant itself, and the plant itself supposed to have another function like deal, like receive damage. And I could have just taken this and just created into a macro. Macro, it's something that you can reuse in multiple places. And basically, since it's kind of the same, this whole code will go to the plant, and when the plant will receive damage, just like the zombie receives damage from the bullet, it will be something like that, right? And then the plant will also have something that checks this, and then the plant will basically destroy itself. But anyway, this is kind of it, I think. The other thing that I wanted to do was this this thing in late update, that when the selected plant go becomes true, meaning that I have a plant selected, I will trigger this. And this is basically, we get the input mouse position, and we set position of that item to the screen wall point of the main camera. And basically this is what it does. When I click, as you can, the zombie is here, so it will always have the zombie. You see, it always has this zombie in particular. What you would want to do there is, for once, I want to offset it, so it won't be in the middle of the cursor. I would also like for it to be a little bit more transparent, but more importantly, what I would have to have a logic where I check the selected plant go and have something like a switch string. Let's say we would have a switch string, and if the string is equal to firing plant, or if the switch string is set equal to sunflower, it will just take the sunflower. But the thing is that in order to do something like this, the sunflower and the fire plant, they need to be instantiated into the game object. So they need to be like this zombie into the scene, right? Into the scene, but not visible. Like I can have this zombie off screen, like I'm having it, like I'm having that guy right now. But when I click it, he will be pulled out from below. And another thing is that you will want to reset the position. So when I build a plant and I want to unselect and not use this anymore, right? That plant that I have initiated and that I want to be on the cursor, I want it to be somewhere else, back to its original position. So again, nothing complicated, but I just didn't want to do it anymore again. I don't know. So hopefully this was useful to you. This was kind of long, but hopefully you also have the article on my website where I'm not really rambling that much. Usually I like to ramble like this because I feel that sometimes when I'm finding problems, I'm explaining those problems much better than in text. But I don't know. Hopefully this was useful to someone. Please write in the comments below any other suggestions, whatever you want to to tell me. Other things that you could have improved, besides actually being a game with a fail state where, like, when the zombie reaches the end to lose a life or something, there is no sound right now whenever the bullet leaves or whenever the bullet hits a zombie. And also the bullets are right now firing. Let me disable this again. Whenever the bullets are... Oh, I also need to talk about the zombie spawner, sorry. You see, like, when you have the bullets are always equal when they are firing. So one idea would be to add some kind of random value so the bullets are not really starting at the same time, or something like that. You see, these are stuff that you only find and you think about when you are actually doing this. So about the zombie spawner, I created 6 game objects because I found something weird. Like, on fixed update, I have a wait number 3, and after 3 seconds I will send an event called pick random spawner, and this is the event that basically gets called. It's going to send another event called spawn zombie, and we need to know exactly where. So we have the spawners, which are all those... It's like this parent that has those childs. We get child transforms. We get random list item of the transform. Basically, we pull randomly one of those objects where we send an event called spawn zombie. The reason why I have 6, one is off screen, is that somehow, I have no idea why, the number 6 never ever gets picked. Like, really, never ever gets picked. That's why I made another one. And now I have zombies from 1 to 5, but never on 6. Weird. And the zombie spawner also has this event called spawn zombie, and basically Unity object instantiate, it has zombie, and we get the position, so the zombie gets spawned exactly on that game object's position, and the zombie itself will just start walking to the left. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this. In case you want to check out FlowCanvas some more, click the link in the description. Check out the GamerPET.com website, where I also have an article about this one. I plan to do more articles about FlowCanvas because I love it, and I like to program with it because it's visually helps me a lot than just text. So anyway, thank you guys. See you soon. Goodbye.